Hey guys, Zero here. Kind of just talking about the new changes that are floating around on Overwatch right now. Or they released the PTR this morning, and a slew of changes have come for heroes, most notably Mercy, D.va, and one minor change to Reinhardt. So with Mercy, she's able to res one at a time, and she does not have invincibility while she's rezzing. Her res is also on a 30-second cooldown, and instead of it being her ultimate, it's now essentially her just an additional ability that she has. While her new ultimate is called Valkyrie. And while she's ulting, she now has the ability to take flight for up to 20 seconds. She's got unlimited ammo, increased damage, and fire rate while she's ulting. And she can also chain heal and damage boosts. Her chain heal is very reminiscent of Zenyatta's Transcendence. Actually, it's kind of like a watered down version of it. If everybody's sticking together and she heals one person, it chains through everyone who's nearby, like, you know, within a certain range, and it heals them all for the same rate. Not for a reduced rate or anything like that. It's literally a constant. So instead of, you know, like Transcendence, where it's like, you know, you go from 0 to 100 real quick. You know, it's Mercy's normal rate that goes up with everyone. Now her Guardian Angel changes while she ults. She's got a longer range on it, just, you know, due simply to the fact that she can fly now, so it doesn't really negate her ability to come down as quickly. She doesn't have to fly down a little bit and then be able to use it. She can use it while, you know, in the air. And she also gets a large movement speed, so she can kind of zip across a lot quicker while she's doing it. The cooldown for her res also changes during ult. Instead of being the 30-second cooldown, it becomes 10 seconds. So essentially, I haven't really done all the math yet, but you can probably res up to about 3 people in a single engagement while you're ulting. 2 to 3 people, because her Valkyrie is about 20 seconds. So Reinhardt also gets some changes. His barrier, now you can actually look around while you're using it, so I think that's a welcome addition, especially because your visibility is your shield. You know, wherever your shield is pointing is exactly what you're looking at. So now you actually be able to look around while still, you know, guarding the front or doing whatever you're doing. You can actually have a view of what's actually going on in the battlefield, which is pretty much a welcome change in my book. The last character that's getting major changes is D.va. She's now acquired a new ability called Micro Missiles. Approximately, they do about 200 damage after all the missiles hit, and they have splash damage. She can also shoot the missiles while she's flying or while she's firing her fusion cannons. Her fusion cannons also can be fired mid-flight, and her flight cancellation is no longer her fire button, it's actually just the flight button again. Defense matrix, and this is the biggest change, it's got about a two times drain, so essentially her defense matrix is about 4 or 5 seconds long from start to finish in use. Now you can expect about half that with the same cooldown, or I guess recharge, of 10 seconds. So kind of touching down on those changes, I welcome the Mercy changes. I know a lot of people are not gonna like that, but basically the philosophy behind it is that instead of, you know, Mercy charging her ult and then going to hide during a major engagement, and then, you know, when her team gets wiped out, she just comes back and all of a sudden heroes never die, and the entire engagement shifts into the opposite, or into, I guess, if we had to put it into perspective, into my team's favor, because I just reset the engagement, then, you know, it kind of renders the point moot. So what they want is that, you know, Mercy to actually just be Mercy and just heal, and the way that I play her is exactly that. You know, I try my best to keep as many of my teammates alive as long as possible, especially with the tanks. I try to focus on them more than I do anything else, because the tanks are the ones creating the space for the DPSs to actually do their job. Now, when it comes to my res philosophy, I still don't have the res spray for damn near a team res. And the reason being is just because I'm not going to hide during engagement. I'm trying to keep everybody sustained as long as possible. And if somebody ends up dying during that engagement, what ends up happening is that I'll just, I have to weigh my options at this point. Is it necessary to res this person, or were they doing a detrimental amount of work against the team? Is it worth it? I have to take all of this into account and kind of weigh my options in the engagement, because a lot of the engagement can be changed simply just based on that decision making. So my reses are usually 1 to 2 people long, but I usually only have to res that people because I'm actually doing the sustain work. I'm actually doing the healing that needs to be done in order to make sure that nobody's dying. If somebody does end up falling off the wagon like a Tracer or a Reaper, I can res them. It's not that big of a deal. It's that extra insurance is basically what it was, and that's kind of what they're making Mercy's out to be, is extra insurance. Because now that her res is moved over to a regular ability and it's got a 30-second cooldown, you really got to weigh your option. Is it worth resing, that Torbjorn that just went down, even though his turret is still there? So I welcome the changes, especially with her gun on ults. I've seen the amount of damage that it can do so far, and it's quite high. She can probably burst down in the amount of time that she's got about 3 squishy DPSs and maybe 1 tank. She's got unlimited ammo and fire rate, and I dare say that she can be a contender against Pharah. To be honest, she's got a lot more mobility air-wise than Pharah does, and she's got a lot of output damage-wise. So it becomes more of a choice of, do you want to be Battle Mercy while you're using your ult, or do you want to just a more effective Mercy while you're using your ult? So I kind of do welcome those changes. Reinhardt goes without saying. I kind of already talked about it. I don't really need to rehash that. D.va is the one that I have the biggest problem with, because if you played with me on Xbox, you're part of my team, you played against me, whatever, you know that I'm D.va main. D.va's not really the only character I play nowadays, but back when I first started playing, I was definitely a one-trick D.va. Now I've got experience with other characters, I've gotten good with other characters, and I know what it feels like to deal with a D.va and how to kind of shut her down when need be. The thing about it is they're taking away one of her biggest sustains, which is her Matrix. It's now, gone from about 5-second use to 2.5 or 2 seconds, and it's just like, okay, well, what am I going to do in that 2 seconds? Because essentially now what I used to use it for was shutting down ults and taking away essential damage when it was necessary. Now there's whole ults that I can't stop because of the amount of time that I can use it for. Reaper, you can kiss that goodbye. Soldier, you can kiss that goodbye. And arguably even McCree. When McCree's high nooning somewhere, either he can hold out for that 4 or 5 seconds that he's got and wait for my defense matrix to become unusable, or he could use it right away while I'm out of position. Now he's got 2 options. Before it was, the D.va's out of position, let me use it now. And when the D.va was in position, it was like, okay, well, now I have to really time it. I need to wait for the D.va to go down. And I think a lot of what's going on with this change is that a lot of players are complaining, and they're stating that, oh my god, defense matrix is super annoying, and it's almost, it's like, it's an OP, it's unbeatable, and this, that, and the other. And if you really play D.va, then you would know that that's not the case. And in order for you to understand and wrap your head around that, you actually have to play D.va. A lot of what's going on with her matrix is, like I said before, micromanagement. You got to really know when to use it. And if you're using it at the wrong times, then guess what? You're not going to have it when it actually matters. When that Reaper comes in and tries to do that Death Blossom, and you don't have Matrix because you were busy, annoying everybody else with it. Now you don't have it in a moment that's crucial, because the Rein's dead, and you're the last line of defense for your squishies and your supports. And if you don't got it, then you don't got it. And I've been put in that position many a times where there's been ults flying out the yin yang during a big engagement, and I maybe stopped 2 or 3 of them, and now Death Blossom or Tactical Visor is now in play, and I can't do anything about it. And I'll tell my team, like, yo, everybody hide, I can't do anything, I don't have Matrix right now. So it kind of comes down to a fact of the matter of, like, you really had to micromanage it. It wasn't like, you know, back in the day when the game first came out, that you could just spam it all day and, you know, nobody can do anything about it. You know, that's why they nerfed it in the first place. They gave it a longer recharge time, they gave it a longer delay in between usage, and they gave it a shorter uptime. And now they're giving it even a shorter uptime with the same recharge time. She still got the same amount of armor. They didn't give her any more sustain. And that's another thing, was D.va's main sustain was her matrix. If she's in trouble, she can matrix until her boosters come back up, and then she can disengage from the fight, run away, and, you know, get her bearings, you know, find her mercy, get healed up, and then go back in to try to re-engage. Now it's no longer possible, something like that. It really does bug. It bugs me. But I mean, as we'll see. I mean, they gave her the ability to shoot while I honestly don't care one way or the other about that ability. It wasn't something that I really wanted. It's only been a few moments where I could have gotten that final kill because I had the ability to shoot and fly. Being able to finish off an enemy that I've done a great amount of damage to is not that important to me, because if I can get them to peel off and go back to their supports who are in the back line, guess what? As long as I created that space, or, you know, our other tank created that space for the DPS to actually get in and assault their supports, they're either A, not going to have the support, so it's going to take longer for them to re-engage, or B, they're going to have to deal with our DPSs along with trying to help out their support. So it becomes, you know, this game of what choices do I have by the time that Symmetra wants to run back and get her heal, or her, you know, their Reaper or their Soldier. By the time he gets back there, they got to make decisions, because they got, you know, a Genji assaulting them, Reaper assaulting them, or whatever is assaulting, you know, their healers. And if they're not there when they need them most, then guess what? The battle's over. So being able to finish somebody off, yeah, it's nice, but it's not always necessary. You know, as long as you can peel off an attacker from your mid or back line, then that's all that's really important. So, I mean, being able to shoot and fly at the time, it's not a welcome addition. I wouldn't say, I mean, I'm indifferent about it. See how it changes my playstyle when it's actually implemented. And I guess my last thing would be the micro missiles. I don't know how that's going to work out. They're on a pretty short cooldown. I think they're like 5 to 7 seconds on the cooldown, so they can be used pretty frequently, and they do a lot of damage. I mean, if we're looking at 200, 215 damage output on you know, if you hit them all, then you're killing DPSs pretty easily. I guess the only guy you could probably not get away with is, you know, Reaper or Soldier. If, you know, Reaper with his Wraith and Soldier with his Biotic heal might be able to out heal or out sustain you while you're using them. But at the same time, you can use your fusion cannons too, so her output becomes exponentially a lot more than it was before. And I kind of have a problem with that, because D.va was sanctioned to be a tank, not a DPS. And with these changes, it's almost like they're trying to shift her more towards being a DPS. It's almost like Roadhog syndrome. When Roadhog before, you know, he could hook and one-shot you, it was like, you know, people are looking at this like he should be, you know, a DPS. They should really, you know, change that, because, you know, he's essentially a DPS with a high health pool, with a, you know, a health pool of a tank. It's not remotely close to fair. So they nerfed him, and his nerf, although albeit a little excessive, made sense. It made him more of what he was supposed to be, a tank. Now they're doing the same thing with D.va, where they're changing her from a tank to a DPS essentially. I mean, that's how I look at it from what I've seen in the videos from people. I watched a Nickel stream today from playing the PTR, is that her damage output is ridiculously high. I wouldn't say it's ridiculously high, but it's a lot higher than it needs to be, especially for what her role is supposed to represent. She's supposed to be a tank. She's supposed to be taking that damage. She's supposed to be getting damage blocked. If you have a D.va on your team who's got all the eliminations, all the damage, and, you know, all the basically all gold, we have a problem here. That means that the space for the DPS is not being opened up. They're not being able to do their job, or they're not doing their job effectively. You know, the medals that you should be getting with D.va is damage blocked. That's actually a quantifiable stat for her. That's a required stat, or I wouldn't say a required stat, but that's a stat that they keep track of per game. If you're going to get that card at the end, you versus Reinhardt, you end up out blocking a Reinhardt, you know, you've got most damage blocked either way, or, you know, whatever. That's still a card for her to get. How much damage does she block? And now that they have essentially taken away that, you know, her body tanking is not something that's considered by the system. what's considered is her usage of defense matrix. So I don't know. All I know is that my playstyle with her is going to have to change dramatically, and if it's going to be one of these things where D.Va becomes more of a situational pick than one of those all-around off-tank picks, like Zarya, for example, is a great all-around off-tank pick, then I don't know. I might be sitting out Season 6 until they actually fix this. I know Kaplan is talking about, this is more of an experiment just to see how it goes, and we'll see how that goes. But if, this turns out to be a permanent change, then I don't know. I mean, we'll see. It's either I have two choices: is play a different hero and main them, or just not play at all. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Meet me down in the comments. We can talk about it. I'll be uploading some more videos of our team footage here pretty soon, so look out for that. And in the meantime, like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.